I'm especially excited for this build for a number of reasons, the first of which being that it's for me. I don't build myself a new system very often. You know, I try to keep it pretty simple. I've got a gaming PC, a streaming PC, an editing PC, HTPC. Okay, well, maybe it's not quite as simple as most people, but I don't replace my systems very often. Maybe every 1 to 2 years I'll replace my system or upgrade it. Actually, that's still pretty frequent too. The point is, I'm excited for this build. It's gonna be awesome. The other reason why I'm looking forward to it so much is because I'm gonna be using metal tubing for the very first time. No idea how it's gonna go. I'm probably gonna mess up a lot, but that's part of the fun and learning experience. Why don't I talk about the parts that I'll be using in this build? Not every part is ready yet, so I'll let you guys know which ones are still on their way or going to be on their way soon.
Before that, today's video is brought to you by Ibotta, a cashback app that's 100% free and works at thousands of stores like Amazon, Best Buy, Target, Walmart, Whole Foods, Costco. Those are all the stores I know. The way it works is that you buy stuff and then any of the money that you save gets transferred to your account, which can then be turned into gift cards, or you can even transfer it to your PayPal balance as cold hard cash. Since we're driving around, why don't we go to a store and try it out right now? Total Wine, here we come. We've got the goods in the car. We have secured the booze. I'm gonna go into my Ibotta app here and we're gonna try to redeem. Find the store we were just at, Total Wine. Take a photo of your receipt. Continue. All right, say cheese. Okay, it worked. The eligible items I just bought show up on the phone now, and I guess I have to take pictures of the individual barcodes on each product that I bought. Okay, I think there's like 2 or 3 that I got here. I just added the 3 items that we saved money on. We just made $8.50, people. What? Just from buying those 3 things, we got $8.50 back. Oh, it's that easy. $8.50 will be sent to my account within 24 hours. Hot damn. This is it, guys. This is the real deal. Download Ibotta. 10 million downloads, 4.3 out of 5 stars. Make sure you guys click the link in the description below and download the app to get a $20 sign-up bonus right now. Before you know it, you'll start buying a lotta on Ibotta. Thanks, Ibotta, for sponsoring this one. Now, on to the video.
Let's start off with the CPU again. It's the Ryzen Threadripper. This is the 3rd generation and probably the best one yet, in my opinion. These chips are just absolutely insane and they pack in a tremendous amount of value compared to the competition. So again, this is the Ryzen Threadripper 3970X. It has 32 cores and 64 threads. My current system is actually using an Intel 7960X, which is a 16-core CPU. So we're literally doubling the amount of cores and threads with this updated system. I would say that's a pretty hefty upgrade. My motherboard of choice is the Asus ROG Zenith 2 Extreme on the TRX 40 platform. It features quad-channel memory support, one of the most robust and insane power delivery systems I've ever seen. It features DIMM.2, 10 gigabit LAN, and a whole bunch of other things that I'm looking forward to using in my workflow. Now for memory, we have Thermaltake's Tough RAM RGB. This is 64 gigs. I actually have 4 16 gigabyte kits at 4,000 speed, and that's 64 gigs because math. We have 2 gigs per every core on our CPU, which should be okay, but there is one problem. I actually requested the non-RGB version of these sticks, and Thermaltake accidentally sent me the RGB ones. The reason why I want non-RGB is because this is actually gonna be an industrial themed PC that's gonna be mostly black with chrome accents, some of which is gonna be provided by the metal tubing, of course. But the non-RGB version of this Tough RAM actually has some really nice silvery chrome accents in place of where these RGB bars are. Also, I've heard that they're very good kits just in general for performance. Like I said, Thermaltake's getting those on the way, but for now, we'll just use these as placeholders. You'll have to use your imagination and pretend the RGB isn't there. Now, I could have gone nuts with an SLI system, the whole 9 yards, but I decided to keep it simple and more practical for my needs, so I'm just doing a single RTX 2080 Ti. I know I just said, like everything I just said there sounds incredibly privileged because it is, but I'm very grateful to be using this card. This is Asus's ROG Strix Gaming OC. Comes factory overclocked, 11 gigs of VRAM. It is an absolute animal, and I will be custom water cooling this, along with the CPU. I should mention that too. This is gonna be fully liquid cooled, and I will be going over all of the liquid cooled hardware right after this. But super awesome card. I'm even a little sad that I have to remove this cooler that Asus has designed so beautifully, but considering that we're replacing it with something even more badass, I'm not losing any sleep over it. We also have this ROG Thor 1200 watt platinum. This is also from Asus, and it's 80 plus platinum as the name suggests, 1200 watts. It's got a nice digital readout on the side that gives you real-time monitoring for power draw and things like that, which is very handy. And we are gonna need that 1200 watts. Not only is it gonna need to be enough for the 2080 Ti, but this is a power hungry chip. We've got to feed 32 cores here, and they are thirsty. I have no doubts that this is gonna be plenty for our needs though. We also have a pretty beefy storage setup here, courtesy of Corsair. This is their MP600, 3 of them in fact, and these are NVMe PCIe Gen 4 M.2 SSDs. We have one 1 terabyte and two 2 terabytes. I haven't completely decided how I'm gonna use these yet, but what I'm thinking right now is that this will be my C C drive, and I'm gonna RAID 0 these as a working drive that I'm gonna store all my raw files onto when I'm editing. But RAID 0 also doubles our chance for data loss, because if one drive goes down, then the data that's stored on the entire array is lost. So my master plan is to actually reuse the 4 terabyte WD Black mechanical drives that are in my current system, set them up in RAID 1, and that'll be the array that I actually capture all my files to initially. And once that's done, I can then transfer them to this RAID 0 array when I'm ready for editing. And that brings us to our final component in this build before we talk about the liquid cooling hardware, and that's our case, the Lian PCO11 Dynamic XL ROG Edition. Brand spanking new. You can see we've still got all the plastic wrap on it. It's definitely not the most unique case, as you'll find everyone and their mom uses this chassis for custom liquid cooling projects, but there's a reason for that. This thing has tremendous amounts of water cooling support, there's tons of room for activities, great airflow, and the thing's built like a tank. And it's just beautiful. I mean, I just love how simple and clean it is, and you gotta love this glass panel at the front where you can just kind of look into your system. So yeah, I'm very excited to be using all these parts today. Again, links to all this stuff in the description in case you're interested, guys. But why don't we talk about all the liquid cooling gear that we'll be putting in here. Let's start with our tubing, shall we? So this is one of several pre-bent tubes that I purchased from Bixski. Bixski also makes other custom water cooling gear like water blocks and fittings and things like that. They also sell pre-bent metal tubing, lucky for me. But it's nice, very nice finish, all chromed out, super shiny. It's exactly what I was going for. I've already planned the build enough to know that this tubing will be enough for my needs. I'm not gonna do any double bends here. You can bend metal tubing, but it's more of like something that you do if you have really special tools, which I do not, but this should be adequate. All I have to do is cut them to size, and I do have to like burr the edges so that they don't cut into any O-rings in our fittings, because metal tubing will definitely do that. But yeah, metal tubing. Very excited to be working with this stuff. Next up is the CPU block, which is the XSPC Raystorm Neo. This was actually suggested by a viewer, so I checked it out and fell in love with the aesthetic. It's actually not this at all. It's this. It's beautiful. It's got a mirror finish. It'll definitely blend in with our theme, and it seems like it's really well built. Like, the attention to detail and build quality is top notch. The only problem is I bought the wrong one. This is AM4. Yep, they have an STRX4 model. I just purchased the wrong one because I'm stupid. But none of this matters anyway, because I literally just learned 10 minutes ago that EK finally made a water block for the Zenith 2 Extreme. And I want that. I want that because it's better cooling. We have 32 cores. The 3970X gets a bit toasty under full load, so I'm gonna use a monoblock anyway, but I don't have it. I don't have it on hand. So this is just a reminder that I'm stupid and no one should listen to me. Let's just put this over here, never talk about it again. Actually, I do want to use this in a build at some point because it's just too beautiful to not use. I mean, just look at it. It's gorgeous. But that being said, we do not have a CPU block to work with today for this part 1 video, so that's too bad. But I promise I'll get that monoblock in here for part 2, and I'm sure it'll be worth the wait. Our GPU block is also courtesy of EK. This is their Quantum Vector, an absolutely beautiful block that performs really, really well for our 2080 Ti. This is specifically the Strix model. Of course, we have to pair that with a fully chromed out backplate, also from EK. It's gonna look super duper nice, I think. And then they sent over this. This is a sort of an upgrade kit that's supposed to black out the RGB portion of this GPU, which is generally at the end here. This is supposed to light up, but it looks like, from the looks of it, at least on the box, that it's already blacked out. So we may not need this. We may just have a spare here. Moving on to our radiators, also from EK, we have the Coolstream XE360. This is a fairly thick rad that's gonna go at the bottom of the case. So this is our big boy. And then we've got the SE360, which is fairly thin. This will go at the top of the case, right above our motherboard. I think with dual 360mm radiators, we'll have plenty of cooling performance for all of our hardware. And that brings us to second to last item, which I'm also very excited about. We have a distro plate that's specifically built for the PCO11 Dynamic XL. This is from Lian and EK, so it's sort of a joint venture there. This is their G1 distro plate. I have never worked with a distro plate before. I'm very excited. Not only is this gonna look really cool, but it's gonna significantly simplify our tube runs. If it weren't for the distro plate, I'd probably end up using PET tubing for this build because the runs would be a lot more complicated. I'd probably have to have 2 bends in some of the runs, which I just can't do with the metal tubing. Just don't have the tools. So this is gonna make things a lot easier, and it's gonna look pretty badass. And finally, we have a juicy assortment of hardline fittings from EK. These are their torque fittings in chrome, and I think the style of these fittings is gonna fit really well with an industrial themed PC. So very, very stoked. One thing I forgot to mention, fans. You might have noticed that I haven't talked about fans or haven't shown you guys any fans. That's because I don't know what fans I should use. I was gonna use the Inwin Polaris, the ones with the aluminum frame body, but I cannot find them. They're either really expensive or sold out everywhere online. I think they've just been discontinued. I even hit up Inwin directly and they don't even have them. I really like those fans because of the aluminum accents, but it doesn't look like I can get them. So I'm gonna have to think of something else, which you guys let me know if this idea works for you. I was gonna do NHF12s, just blacked out Noctua fans with chrome fan grills. I don't know exactly what fan grills yet, but they're gonna be chromed out, and I think that would really match with the industrial theme here. But alas, those are all the parts, guys. Again, links to everything in the description below. Huge shout out to all the vendors who supplied parts for this build. You guys are awesome, couldn't have done it without you. Okay, let's get to it. Okay, so we've pretty much gone as far as we can with the parts we have on hand, and things are looking really good so far. For starters, GPU sag is atrocious. I shouldn't say everything is perfect, because if I remove this, this is my little kickstand for now. See that? See that sag? Oh, it's so bad, especially because these torque fittings, while they're beautiful, are also fairly heavy, so that weighs it down even further. But I'll have to figure out something here. Maybe I can get like a GPU sag bracket, just a plain steel one that might actually even add to the theme. But for now, I can't stand it. I just can't look at it, so there you go. The build is looking a little empty without any fans, but I think I've decided, as I was putting this together, that I am gonna go with the Noctua NHF12s, which is just the standard black fans, and I happen to find some sweet looking fan grills that I'm not gonna show you just yet, but if I can get a hold of them, it's gonna make the build look extra sweet, so maybe that'll be a little surprise for later. And we've got our beautiful G1 distro plate here. I've already put the fittings in. Everything's looking really nice, and again, this kind of just takes a lot of the guesswork out of where your tube runs are gonna go, because all the ports are already here. They're already kind of lined up exactly where you'd want them to go, more or less. So I'm gonna give you guys a full walkthrough of exactly how I want the loop set up. But before that, I did realize in doing this that we might have an issue with the monoblock. So these two ports right here, these are supposed to go to the CPU block. So I was gonna go out, over, and then in. Right? And then I'd probably have to use some extenders like this to actually get the tube to clear over not just the memory, but our DIMM.2 stick as well, because this is actually higher than the RAM. And we have to have enough clearance so that if I need to, I can take this out, put it back in without having to remove any tubing. So we're gonna have to use extenders here, but get this. So it's gonna go in right around here, and then it's gonna come out back into here, which means ideally that the ports would have to be right around this area. But the monoblock has one port here right in the middle, and the other one is way at the top of the board right over the VRM. Now there's ways that we could get around this, of course. We could use some sort of crazy fitting arrangement where I do like a right angle fitting and then maybe an extender and then another right angle fitting, and then it could go in that way, and I'm not 100% convinced that it would look as clean as just two extenders coming out from the same spot. So we have a couple options here. I could just do the monoblock for the sake of temperatures, but then sacrifice some aesthetics, or we could say screw the monoblock altogether. This VRM cooling solution should work just fine, and go with something like the STR4 version of the Raystorm Neo that I should have bought in the first place. So that's an option, but bear in mind that these ports are side by side. They're not stacked vertically. So I would have to do I'd have to maybe get one of those offset fittings that will offset the port by a few millimeters. So I'd have to go like a few millimeters up here and a few millimeters down here, and that would sort of get the arrangement that I need. If that's not enough, I could use more offset fittings here to actually space these fittings apart further as well. So there's a couple different ways that I could do it. Another block that piqued my interest is the nickel-plated Heat Killer 4 Pro for the STR4 socket. That thing looks pretty sweet. It also has the side-by-side port, so I'd have to work with that, but I really do think it would match the rest of the build pretty nicely. And then there's also the EK version, just the regular STR4 Threadripper water block, not the monoblock, just the regular CPU block, that also looks really clean. It would definitely match the other EK products that we already have in here, and that does have vertical ports, so that would integrate perfectly perfectly. That would be the easiest solution to making these tubes work. Of course, it makes sense, right? Because the distro plate's also from EK. So I've got a couple options laid out in front of me that I'm really not sure what to do at this point. But if you guys have any opinions, feel free to let me know. All right, now let me show you guys what I have in mind for the runs. It's gonna be really straightforward again, because we only have so many options with the distro plate here. It kind of dictates more or less how the runs are gonna go. But I think it's gonna look really clean in the end. So let me show you what I'm thinking here. We've got our pump right here. I believe it's pushing fluid this way. So it's gonna come out of this port first. And from here, we're just gonna go straight, right angle bend into the radiator. We're gonna come out, right angle bend back into the distro. That goes up here, straight out, right angle into the radiator, down, right angle into the distro. It's gonna flow this way. And this is our CPU, boom, and then boom. It's gonna go down here, out, right angle into the GPU, and then out, right angle into the distro and back to the pump. So that's our full loop. So you can see that by the end of it, if you're just looking at the build from this way, all the tubes are gonna go straight into the distro. It should look really clean. And then all the tubes from the radiators, both radiators will be right angling into the distro as well. Based on how things are looking so far and how the runs are gonna go, I'm pretty convinced that this is gonna be the cleanest looking custom water-cooled build I've ever done. Simply because you can't really go wrong with just simple right angle bends. And if they're all doing right angles, it's just gonna look very uniform across the board. And they're already pre-bent. It's kind of a no-brainer, so not even I can screw it up. Hopefully. But yeah, that's how it's looking so far. One thing I forgot to mention is coolant or fluid. I was just thinking distilled water, mainly because this is my workstation system, or it's going to be my workstation system, so I wanted utmost reliability and as little maintenance as possible. Also, you're not gonna really be able to see the fluid through the tubes because they're metal. You'll really only see it in the distro plate, which, you know, I mean, I think it's still gonna look cool with distilled water regardless, but you guys let me know what you think. That's gonna do it for me, guys. Thank you so much for watching this one. Toss a like before you go and get subscribed for more tech content on the way. Also, check out Bitwit.tech, our merchandise store. We have new BSOD shirts, same design, but a new color. The shade of blue is a little bit different. I think it works better for the design. So those are brand new, freshly stocked in a variety of sizes. Check those out. If you already have too many shirts, check out our heatsink glasses. They have really high quality prints on them that will stand the test of time. So you can wash them over and over, whether it's by hand or in a dishwasher. They won't fade, scratch, peel, any of that stuff. So go ahead and check everything out, guys. We appreciate your continued support on our store. And that's gonna do it for now. Thanks again for watching. Have a good one, and I'll see y'all in the next video.